Hello, everybody. We're back, and we have a wonderful guest today. I can't wait to get to broach this topic because it's something I've been curious about for a long time. I have with us, I'm going to call you an expert
Yeah.
on sleep and on repetitive behaviors. This is interesting to me. I have Miss Kisha Reynolds, and she is a hypnotherapist, and I am excited about this conversation. Keisha, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here too. Thrilled, more like it. I want and I want to just broach this talking about how do you do your practice, your life coach and hypnotherapist practice? How do you do that?
I do I can do each separately. I can do hypnotherapy. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist. So I work in that capacity, but I also tend to blend coaching and hypnotherapy together. So a little bit about the certification. It's I'm certified, but it's hypnotherapy is not a you're not licensed. So what separates that is I have a particular scope that I stay within. So I'm able to work with clients. Okay, so they're my clients; they're not patients. Okay, and what I do is coaching. I don't actually diagnose. Okay, but
Hmm.
I work, alone, by myself as a standalone with hypnosis, hypnotherapy. But I also many times do work in tandem along with licensed clinical with therapists, licensed clinical social workers, clinical psychologists, psychotherapists, as well. Typically, the way that tends to work is if you think about your mind, okay, the waking part or your conscious mind is 12% of your brain, okay, and the subconscious makes up 88%. So what happens is when I work with a therapist, they work with the waking state. They work with where you are now, the talk therapy. And what I do is that I come in and I create a hypnotic script based on what the therapist is wanting the client, or in their terms, their patient, to be able to grasp. I'm able to then kind of create a hypnotic script with imagery and hypnotic suggestions that I say to the person while they are in hypnosis. So, what hypnosis does is we are able to, it really rewires the brain, it creates new neural pathways in the mind. So, I'm able to kind of change negative thought patterns, things of that sort, so that people are able to live their best life, really, get out of that, way of negative self talk.
You have become, um, Ms. Reynolds, my new best friend.
Yes.
My mind is going 100 miles an hour because I have some people I want to refer to you.
And I would love, 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 love that. I absolutely would. I would. And, the way that will work is again, I'm hyper aware of my scope. Okay.
Yes.
So for me, for example, if you were working with someone and about sleep, okay, because that's what what you talked about, we were going to discuss here along with body focused repetitive behaviors, but we're also going to talk about sleep. So what that looks like is this person comes to you, perhaps they are having sleep paralysis,
Mm.
okay,
Mhm.
okay, and they're having issues, and with sleep paralysis it's more so the person, their mind hasn't, their body hasn't caught up to where their brain is yet. So they're still kind of moving or feeling like they're moving around, but they're really, not moving at all. Okay. Which is quite frightening. Okay. So the way that would work is you would talk to them, okay, in terms of maybe what's going on with their life, okay, what, are is there anxiety? Many times there's anxiety you're not coming around with, especially with if anybody's insomnia, what's kind of going on. And what I would do is based on what you have diagnosed the patient with, I would then work with them in terms of being able to release and move past that. Okay,
Mm,
releasing the anxiety. In fact, getting them ready before it's time to go to sleep, getting them to the point where in in induction and using hypnotherapy, getting them to, okay, an hour before it's time for you to go to sleep, you start to become tired. In fact, you associate that hour as being tired. So now in their mind, the minute that they say, if they go to bed at 10 and they see that it's 9, okay, now all of a sudden I'm beginning to feel tired. And an hour before, I'm beginning to shut down, that the process down, turning off the TV, things of that sort, okay, and having it off in time enough so that you are able to really kind of come down, looking
mm,
forward to the next day. So I would put in a suggestions or hypnosis, hypnotic suggestions like wanting to can't wait to feel refreshed the following day. Okay,
mm,
but in order to but in order to feel refreshed, you sleep that night. Okay.
mm,
And it depends. I even work with clients who are faith based. I don't necessarily know in terms of your audience or where you are, but I am a believer. Okay.
mm,
So many of my clients that I do work with, a lot of them are believers. So what I do is I incorporate scripture.
mm,
Okay. And so then my hypnotic suggestions, they become prayers that I
mm.
turn into those hypnotic suggestions. And we use the scriptures as the imagery.
Oh,
So that's typically what I do with that. And what happens is, you see, when you're doing this is a gradual process, so it doesn't happen overnight. It takes anywhere from, I would say, uh, 8 to 12 sessions to be able to see a full transformative experience. You usually start to feel yourself change on the inside right around that fourth or fifth session. To quicken that, what I do is I record the session. So I don't record what the client is saying when they are telling me the reason why they are here.
mm,
I record the last 25 minutes to half hour. Okay. So that's at the point where I'm doing breath work with them. Okay. I'm
mm,
asking them to inhale for 4 counts, hold their breath for 6, and exhale out for 8 counts. And then I always bring them back to a baseline so they can return back to their normal breathing cadence. And we do that for about 4 or 5 times. And then I go into an induction. Okay, which is how I begin to put the person into hypnosis.
mm,
Okay. And it's very natural. I think there is still sometimes this mysticism, around it, but it's really not, it's not magic at all. Actually, when you, and I think everybody knows if you've watched television, you have seen the hypnotherapist say something and it'll count through the countdown backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, deep sleep. You hear them, you do that.
right.
So, exactly when you say, or when we say deep sleep, you are not exactly in a deep sleep. Okay. You are aware. And I think that whole deep sleep piece of it sometimes tends to make people feel a little bit uneasy. It's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm going to be asleep. Yeah, you're not really asleep. So deep sleep is really a trigger for the subconscious.
Mm,
That's what that is. Okay. It's a trigger to the subconscious. Now you are very, very relaxed. Typically, when someone comes out of hypnosis, they feel sleepy. Okay.
mm.
It feels kind of like, that feeling when you're in between like awake and sleep. Okay. Like
Yes.
your head may, and then you wake up, but you're in between that drowsy, part. That's the way hypnosis feels. You're kind of right in between. Some people do fall asleep. Okay. I've been told that I have a very soothing voice. So when we get into it, sometimes they do fall asleep. And that's okay too, because it's still able to play. in their subconscious. You're still able to get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal is really not for the person to completely zonk out, because that's not really the goal. It does happen, but that's not really the goal. We want you to be in that in between state because you're able to really hear and focus because we actively need the client to participate. So
Uh-huh.
this isn't something where it's kind of like we just do the work. Okay. We do as hypnotherapists, but we rely on the client to use their imagination or to be able to visualize.
Uh-huh.
So you cannot go unconscious. So I'm just going to dispel that myth right now. You cannot go unconscious. In fact, you are aware. You may be in a relaxed state, but you are very much aware of what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I describe it is basically all hypnotherapy is a narrow state of focus that allows the hypnotherapist to bypass the critical mind so that we are able to change a negative thought patterns into positive ones. And believe it or not, you have been in hypnosis as well. You may not have realized you were, but you've
Mm-hmm.
been in hypnosis. We all have. We just haven't realized it. So, an example would be of this. Have you ever driven from just say from point A to point B? And going to point B, you may be in deep thought. You may be listening to a song that you like on the radio, but all of a sudden you happen to arrive at destination B and you don't really know how you got there. You're there. It seems like we all say like, oh, it's muscle memory. Okay. You know that you've gotten on the road. You know that you've turned down some streets, probably stopped at some lights. Okay. But you're there. Okay. So that is a form of hypnosis. Okay.
Amazing.
And another one would be if you are watching television. I think we've all have had this happen where you are engrossed in what you are watching and you may not hear someone come up behind you and maybe call your name. And they
Mm-hmm.
may call your name like the second time before you kind of turn around and say, oh, hey, I didn't see you standing there. I didn't hear
Mm-hmm.
you. And that is a form of hypnosis. So the only difference between that and what I do is the narrow state of focus that I spoke of in those instances, the television, which took your attention, okay, or if you were driving, whatever you were thinking about, or whatever you were listening on to radio, those were the focus at that point. The only difference is the focus would be my voice. That's the
Mm-hmm.
only difference. So
Mm-hmm.
it is really, really, it's not scary. It is quite relaxing. And like I said, when people come out of it, they're actually really tired. I always tell people to see if they can take a little nap afterwards because they usually want to take a little nap. They usually want to take a little nap afterwards.
I love this. This mind, you have me thinking about all those times that I was under hypnosis and I didn't know it. I've had,
And you didn't know it. Yeah, yeah, you didn't know it. You didn't know. I mean, it's affected by your environment. It's affected by stress. It can be affected by a bliss. Even just falling in love. Okay, that dopamine, that falling in love, the oxytocin, all that. Where you're just kind of like, oh, everything's like under those rose-colored glasses. That's a form of hypnosis. After a while, those rose-colored glasses come off and you begin to see the person as they are, as they've always have been,
that's
again,
good. I
a
like
form of
that.
hypnosis.
That's the reason. You could you indulge me for a moment?
Yes, yes.
I go on rabbit trails
It's
sometimes.
okay.
It's a part of my personality.
It's fine. I do the same thing.
So years ago, I used to work for a mental health agency,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a hustle and bustle town, right? Lots of
Mm-hmm.
traffic and things. And this is before COVID, so I had to
Mm-hmm.
go to different clients' homes and stuff and do, house calls and things. So
Mm-hmm.
I was on my way, and near a beltway, and I was driving, and I gotten a hold of this Dan Goldman CD
Mm-hmm.
that he talks about a lot of this stuff, and I'd gone to a workshop, and so I had one of his CDs, and I unfortunately plopped it into my CD drive, and there was this mild hypnosis tape going
Mm-hmm.
on.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Don't listen to this while you're
While you're
driving."
driving. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I was
Please tell me you turned that off. Oh my God.
already driving. And so, and before I knew it, my eyes started getting droopy, and
Yes, that'll
I turned
happen.
that tape off immediately.
Yes, yes. That is the one thing that I tell clients after I work with them. My instructions are do not listen to that recording while you're driving. And not only that, when you wake up, don't, because the best time to listen to it is either right before you go to bed or as soon
Hmm,
as you get up in the morning. Okay.
really?
Yeah. So, because when you first get up, you are still kind of, in that sleep between sleep and awake, and you're still able to absorb and receive a lot of things,
Mm,
right? Like when you first wake up in the morning. Okay. Like not after you kind of get your day started, and it will still work then, but it's really designed to be able to help you to kind of slow down. Okay. So
yeah.
the evening, and typically what I tell people to do is after I meet with them, okay, when they listen to the recording anywhere from, say, 4 to 5 nights out the week. It should be nightly, but listen, we all have lives. We can't all listen to recordings every single night. It's just
Mm-hmm.
hard. But if you get in a good, 4 to 5 nights out the week, what happens is you begin to feel that internal change that I spoke about. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of it taking 4 to 5 sessions, now it's taking you maybe 3 to 4 and
Mm-hmm.
more closer to the three. And you feel it. So for example, if you are coming for anxiety, okay,
Mm-hmm.
the way that shows up is all of a sudden you realize that you may be in a situation, and it will hit you all of a sudden that typically in a situation such that a person may be in that would typically make them feel anxious, all of a sudden they're not so anxious anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's how you feel the inside. That's how you feel it. And the goal for this is, and by the end of the sessions, what I do is I teach my clients how to do self hypnosis. You see, it's not about coming back to me for the same thing over and over again. It's teaching you how to help yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you come back to me for something different, fine, I will work with you. And even if you want to come back for the same thing, okay. But I will probably ask, because each time a client meets with me, they have a fresh recording. This is highly personalized. Okay. So on
Mm-hmm.
my site, you will never see, okay, and this is no disrespect to any hypnotherapist that does this. People, they do what they do. They run their business the way they want. But this is very concierge here. So you won't ever see on my site where you can kind of go under and you'll see a tab for anxiety, and you're able to go and like download or pay for different hypnotic, scripts or things like that, for certain things. Because usually when it's anxiety, it's not just anxiety. It's coupled usually with something else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The anxiety might be stemming from perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I can't just do something just for anxiety, because there are other things that are surround. So anxiety may be like the one thing, but there are other things that are circling around here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You might have procrastination. You may have perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All of that kind of going around. Okay. So you can't just do it for that. You've got to address the other things as well. And also allowing people to understand that it's okay to not be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. And having some grace for yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Having some grace for yourself. Okay. Listen, this thing we call life, it ain't always easy.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
And we all go through things, even myself. I'm not immune to this. Okay. I do this work to help others, but it doesn't mean that I don't have my own struggles. Okay. I
Yeah,
do, just like anybody else. But it's just that this work moves me so that I want to be able to help people. And for me personally, the way I look at this is, I look at it, this is God working through me.
that's right.
Okay. So I always start things off with gratitude. No matter
Hmm.
what type of hypnotic script that I'm creating, I start from gratitude because, first of all, gratitude, and especially for those who are manifestors who want to manifest financial abundance and prosperity, okay,
Hmm.
either way, your frequency doesn't raise until you are grateful for what you already have. Like
Oh, that's good.
you've got to be appreciative of your own lot in life. Now, that's not saying that you have to stay there. That's not saying that you can't want self betterment and want more. But it does mean, you know what? God be the glory. And guess what? I'm so thankful that I have where I am right now because I know that it could be worse, you
Hmm.
know? So being thankful for where you are because it could be worse. Okay. And then when you bring in gratitude, that brings up that frequency. Okay.
Hmm.
And what happens is you are talking about financial abundance, it aligns with it. Financial abundance doesn't come with a scarcity mindset. In fact, if you keep a scarcity mindset, you're only going to bring what you consistently think. If you consistently think, I'm not going to have this, or I'm not going to have that, or I'm never going to get sleep, then you're never going to get sleep. It's going to answer you back. Okay. You're going to
Huh.
get that. But if you raise your frequency, and I'm grateful for what I have, but I always know that I want sleep, and thinking of it that is done, thinking of it that this is done. Listen, if you ask, you will find. If you seek, you shall find. If you ask,
That's
he
right.
will give you what you ask for. Okay. But you've
That's
got
right.
to be specific. You've got to ask for it. You've
Be
got to be
specific.
specific. You have got to ask for it. And you have to ask and think of that it has already happened. So you are thanking our Heavenly Father that it's already done,
That's
that
right.
is done. And even if you don't say Heavenly Father, you use Yahweh, El Shaddai, any other way that you, Allah, Jehovah Jireh, whichever way you use to say God, okay. Or if someone is considers themselves spiritual and they say the universe, no matter what, you have to act as if whatever you want has already been done.
That's
It's
it.
done. If
That's
you
it.
say words like, will, that's putting it off into the future.
Right.
It's now, it's done. Thanking him, because if you thank him, that means when you thank someone, that means it's already done, right?
That's
That's
it.
already done. So you have to think in that mindset. And it's not easy, it takes some time. Okay. I still work on it myself, but I, and when I find myself thinking in a scarcity mindset, I have to stop it and think in a sense of provision.
That's good.
Yeah.
You're amazing. I'm gonna say that right now.
Thank you.
And I'm not just saying it because you're on my
No, no,
podcast.
no.
See,
Thank you. I take that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
and I'm gonna tell you why you're amazing. I'm aware of the time, but I won't belay it, but I'm gonna say
We're
this.
good. We're good. It's just a little after 1:30. We're good.
I'm gonna tell you something. You know, I've been praying about stuff like this for a minute, and you have picked up this resonance that is quite phenomenal in my mind. All of these points that you just mentioned about the frequency and about, being specific, me and my buddy have been focused on that for about a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Matter of fact, there's an Uber driver that I got in this Uber yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and I was going to go grab something to eat and go shopping a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy starts telling I didn't ask him anything. He started
Mm-hmm.
telling me about his woes and me stories, and I couldn't wait to get out of the car. I I was like, I can't wait to get out of this car. Like I don't want to hear any of this stuff
Right.
because in my mind, I'm like, this guy is on that negative frequency thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's very interesting how that happened. I know it was a long time ago. I would have been just eating that up. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I have learned to change my frequency. And it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because, I do a solo business, so, and I know you do too.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And so, you know, you, you don't know who's going to come every day.
Right.
It's all
Right.
faith.
Right.
And so here I am, and it was the other day. And I said, well, Lord, Thanksgiving's coming. And I said, and I remember sitting next to my friend praying, and I said, I need some money to hit my bank account so I can go shopping for my daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, and I said, I don't care where it comes from, but I need it to drop before Thanksgiving. I remember saying this to the
Mm-hmm.
Lord the other day,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, and I remember, and I said, and I want to have a good Thanksgiving, and I don't want to have to
Mm-hmm.
go over anybody because I don't cook
Mm-hmm.
anybody's house that makes me feel uncomfortable.
Right.
All of a sudden, I'm talking about the next day, check my bank account, somebody dropped a bunch of money in my bank.
Woo!
The
That's what I'm talking
like
about.
that
Love
morning,
that.
as soon as I got up, it's about 6:30, and then I checked. I was at work at the office here,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody calls me. I thought it was a client.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mr. Times, um, this is Shy Cats and a restaurant, a very good restaurant here in Galveston.
Oh,
And
okay.
you just won a Thanksgiving dinner. You know, I
What?
said,
Won't
what?
he do it? Won't he do
Oh,
it?
he do it,
Won't he do it?
dinner for two, so me and my buddy. And then I got an invitation from one of my colleagues at the school for, Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday. And I said, God, you just showing out.
Show up and show. He said that in Matthew 7. He said, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and it
Yes,
will be open to
open.
you. And in
Yes,
Matthew, he said, and whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith. So
that's
you have
it.
got to lean into that. Yes.
That's it. I used to
Yes.
stress out, girl, about stuff like that, and it ain't been that long ago. Trust me. And I just said, I'm just gonna, because my pastor was talking, Pastor Trey, and he was just wearing this stuff out. The same thing we're talking about, not
Mm-hmm.
hypnotherapy, but about the faith thing.
Right. Yes.
And I'm like, okay, something in my head just clicked. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for that. Now, I learned about this vibration stuff in grad school ages
Yeah.
ago. But
Yeah.
see, the buy-in is sometimes it's easier to, hold on to that old thinking, that old negative stuff.
that old belief is
Oh
something
my
else.
gosh.
It is
Oh my
something
gosh.
else. That is something else. Yeah, it's something else.
And
Mm-hmm.
and our people, when I say our people, I mean black people, white people,
Mm-hmm.
yellow people, we all do that. I love what you said about the negative thinking part
Mm-hmm.
because I just talked to somebody yesterday about that. And, we rewiring the brain and all of this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to be pushed out so much more because how many times have we're in a society where they're just talking about negative stuff all the time.
Oh my goodness. And it's all over TV, it's all over, internet. And that's another thing. You have to be very careful of
Mm,
what you listen to
hmm.
and the people in your space.
Ooh, talk.
You have to, because you got to remember all this is energy. Energy
Yes.
doesn't die, it transfers, it just
Mm,
goes into something else. So
mm.
when you tying up with people, okay, and and they're negative, perfect example, be around somebody who is negative for like a week and hear all that negativity. All of a sudden you start thinking negatively. All of a sudden,
Ah,
things start not happening the way you want in your mind. You have to be very cognizant of the people that you let in your circle, in your space.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
do, you do, because that energy will come from them on to you. So you do have to be careful. And what you listen to, what you watch
Yes.
on TV,
Yes.
that's how the enemy is able to get you. Is
Yes.
what you are listening to and what you are watching. They're gateways.
You speak in my language. And it's funny because the word, scripture tells us to be mindful of these things. And
Yes.
also, our meditation of our hearts and all that, we have to
Mm-hmm.
be careful what we think on, and how we are around certain people. You're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
Or is
Mm-hmm.
that old adage, birds of a feather flock together?
Very true. And
We,
water seeks its level.
oh, talk
Okay.
about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. Seek and you'll find. I do believe
Mm-hmm.
that seeking has to do with this piece that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the Lord wants us to have things, but
Oh yes.
we stop ourselves. I'm at that point now where I really I just know we stop ourselves.
We do. And many times we're so busy talking about, it's the devil. The devil's
Mm.
not even doing anything. It's you. You creating this. You're doing this yourself. He didn't even lay hands. Now he allows for that breeding ground. Now I'm not going to say that, okay. But many of the stuff people are so quick to say that they're under spiritual attack. No, that's you. It's not
Yeah.
even that. It's your way of thinking, okay.
Yeah.
So it's getting out of that way of thinking, watching the people that you associate with. Okay. And I know we all have those that, you want to kind of cling to and things, and they may be exciting to talk to. But, I'm not saying cutting one out your life, but I am saying limit, okay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the amount of time that you maybe spend around said person, okay, so that this does not negatively, affect you, because what you brought up about sleep, like, and how even with sleep and how that impacts like anxiety,
Oh
it
God.
does
Oh.
more than it make you tired. It directly impacts your emotional regulation.
Oh,
It
talk, talk,
directly
talk.
does that. And when you are sleep deprived, that hits on that amygdala, that fear
Mm-hmm.
center, okay, that
Mm-hmm.
becomes 30 to 60% more reactive,
Talk
okay.
to me. Mm.
Your prefrontal cortex, where your logic and emotional regulation goes, you don't get sleep, that goes offline, okay. Your body
Wow.
produces more cortisol, so that weight that somebody wants to lose, okay, now you holding on to it because now your body is producing more cortisol. And that ability to even cope with stress, okay, now that drops. So now you can't cope with anything. And now that is making you even more anxiety, riddled. So bad sleep fuels anxiety, and anxiety fuels bad sleep. It's a whole cycle.
This is a vicious cycle. It sounds like
Yeah,
PT.
it is.
It sounds like PTSD for
Yeah.
goodness sake.
Yeah, it really does. It goes on. It goes well, anxiety too, because remember, if you have had a traumatizing event, we all have traumas. I mean, that's when you get into big T's and little T's, okay?
Yeah.
So we all have, traumas, but I'm talking about more so like the larger ones. That super hyper vigilance, okay, that
Right.
someone experiences as a result of PTSD and the anxiety. True story. Many, many years ago, I was in my late teens. I was 19 years old. Okay. 18, I was 19, 18, 19. So we are going back into like the in the 90s. So yeah, I'm dating myself right now. We are going back into something like the late 90s. Okay. And early 90s. 19 graduated from, okay, 1993 or 92, around that time frame, 1992. And I had a girlfriend of mine at the time. I was living in Jersey, lived at home, and I had a girlfriend, and she lived in Newark, New Jersey. So from where I grew up, which is a small town called the township called Ewing Township, right outside. the capital of New Jersey, which is
Mm-hmm.
Trenton, New Jersey. And she grew up in Newark, which is an hour north of me. And became really good friends. And I remember going back and forth between Newark and Trenton all the time. By that time, I was a total road warrior. Like I would just jump in my car and just go, you know. I was
Mm-hmm.
19 at that time. So I remember I wasn't very honest and always forthcoming to my mom, okay, about where I was going,
Oh
okay,
yeah. Uh-huh.
because I was not supposed to be in Newark, New Jersey, Irvington, anywhere up that area.
No.
I told a vicious hot lie, a
Mm-mm-mm.
hot lie
Mm-mm-mm.
that I was in a complete opposite. I was in South Jersey near the beach. Told a
Mm-mm-mm.
whole hot lie. Got up there, and there was this roller skating rink. Any of your listeners who are in the North Jersey region, I'm sure they will know about this. Uh, there was a skating rink called Skate 22, going back
Mm.
a long time ago. And we were going to go to Skate 22. She had a cousin of hers, and we were all supposed to get together to go roller skating.
Oh
Okay.
my goodness.
So we stop at the payphone. This tells you how far back we are. We used to actually stop and dial numbers on the payphone.
Lord have
And we
mercy.
stopped to call her cousin to let her know that we were on our way to pick her up.
Mm-hmm.
Got left there, the phone booth, got back in the car. I did not lock my door. You will understand while I point that out in a few seconds. Just get in, just all willy nilly, just get in and close the door, you know. And I remember I saw a gentleman like off in my peripheral vision, but I didn't pay much attention to it. When I knew anything, he was at the door. He had yanked the door open. He put a gun to my head.
Mm.
Okay. And forced his way in. So what happened was when he forced his way in, my friend was already in the passenger side. So she was able to open the car door and jump out, which is what she did. Okay. He forced his way in, and he's trying to force his way in on the driver's side. Now, my leg is caught between the gear when you're shifting, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know how I managed to get it free. Somehow I managed to get it free. And I jumped out of the car, okay? But that was and he took off with the car, okay? Took off. And that was an extremely, traumatic. I'd never been held up at gunpoint in my life. And it was surreal. And I remember even the issue was just having to deal with the police. And they literally had a disagreement as to which police department was going to take it, because where the incident happened was on the border of Newark, New Jersey and Irvington, New Jersey. Like they literally had a whole argument about that. Wow, I'm like, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
But anyway, after that happened, I never forget about maybe 6 months later. Now at this point, it's in the summertime because this happened during the winter, during the spring, actually. So a few months later, I want to say maybe even not six, but maybe even about another 3, 4 months later, I was in the car and I was going somewhere. And all of a sudden, this gentleman, he jumped in my car. Now he jumped in to laugh and talk. He knew I was with people that I knew. And a friend of mine had gone into a store to go get something to eat. And he opened the door and got in. I just about had a conniption. Okay. But it
Oh
was
yeah.
because I was still traumatized and had not dealt with what had happened to me of
Oh
being
yeah.
held up at gunpoint. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And it bothered me for quite some time until
Mm.
I eventually, and at that time, this was well before, hypnosis. This was for I got into hypnotherapy, and I should have gone probably to go see a therapist. At the time I was 19, just like, okay, I could do it on my own, that whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to be able to kind of move past that. Anything with anybody looking like they are jumping or getting into a car, like I triple check locks on the doors,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay, to make sure everything was locked. I triple checked, constantly, even while driving, even though I checked before, I kept triple, like just looking at the locks,
Oh yeah.
because that was something that I had not done, which allowed this person to yanked the car door open to begin with when I was held up
Mm-hmm.
at gunpoint. So
Mm-hmm.
I come and it wasn't to the point where it was debilitating, but I can understand how people get to the because the fear
Mm-hmm.
alone would just grip me if
That's right.
someone looked like they were coming even too close to the car. The car could be parked and it could be a gentleman walking out of, say, a Walmart to get in his own car. But if it was too close to mine, okay, I'm constantly triple checking the block to make sure that he's going directly to his car and he's not trying to open mine. Eventually I moved past that. I was able to release that, but
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand what you're saying.
It's incredible. And how we go through these states. And you said something that I found very interesting, and I can relate to it personally. And I've seen clients do it also, is that they think they can do this alone.
Right.
And we don't have time, unfortunately, but
Can I come
maybe,
back? I would love to come back.
well, let's do that.
I would love to come back so that we can continue. I would absolutely love to come back because we haven't even touched on even half the stuff I think that we were going to discuss.
Oh yeah.
So I would love to come back. But before I go, I would like to let your listeners know, where they can reach me if they
Yes.
would like to book sessions with me. My website is www.321deepsleep.com. Okay. And my email address, I have two. The first one is my first name, which is Kisha, and that's Kisha at 321deepsleep.com. And 321, it is the numbers. You're not spelling out the word 321, it's the numbers. The other one is just simply 321 Deep Sleep Hypnotherapy at Gmail. That's a Gmail account. The other one is Keisha at 321deepsleep.com. So those are a couple ways that one is able to reach me.
Kisha Reynolds.
Yes, 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 yes.
It has been an absolute pleasure, and
Yes.
I cannot wait to book you for part two. I already wrote it down, so I'll be in touch shortly.
Please do. I cannot. And I look forward to working with you. Send clients my way. I am
Absolutely.
happy to work with you. And if they come from you, I will give a 15% discount
Very
on my
nice.
on my on my packages. They would just tell them to mention Christopher, and they heard them on your show, and I'll give them a 15% discount.
You know what? We're in business. Hey,
Yes.
God bless you and keep you and prosper you. And cannot wait for part two.
I can't either. I can't either. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. You all have a wonderful day. Be blessed and happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.